In the foothills of the Himalayas, in the kingdom of the Shakyas, a prince was born who would change the course of human history. His name was Siddhartha Gautama, and his father King Suddhodana shielded him from all suffering, raising him inside palace walls draped in silk and surrounded by every pleasure. Siddhartha grew up knowing nothing of old age, sickness, or death. He married the beautiful princess Yashodhara, and together they had a son named Rahula. But a restlessness stirred within the young prince. He sensed that the golden walls of his palace were hiding something fundamental about the nature of existence. One day, Siddhartha convinced his charioteer Channa to take him beyond the palace gates. On that fateful ride, he saw an old man bent with age, his body frail and trembling. For the first time in his life, Siddhartha understood that youth does not last forever. On the second outing, he saw a man racked with disease, moaning in agony by the roadside. On the third, he witnessed a funeral procession, a lifeless body being carried to the cremation grounds while the family wept. These three sights shattered the illusion of his sheltered world. On his fourth journey outside the palace, Siddhartha encountered a wandering ascetic with a shaved head and a calm, radiant face. Despite owning nothing, this monk seemed to possess a peace that all the treasures of the Shakya kingdom could not buy. That image burned itself into Siddhartha's mind and would not let him rest. On a moonlit night, while the palace slept, Siddhartha made the most difficult decision of his life. He kissed his sleeping wife and infant son one last time, mounted his horse Kanthaka, and rode into the darkness. At the edge of the forest, he cut off his long hair with his sword, exchanged his royal robes for the simple cloth of a wanderer, and stepped into the unknown. This moment is called the Great Renunciation. For 6 years, Siddhartha wandered the forests and plains of northern India, seeking the answer to suffering. He studied under the greatest teachers of his age, but found their philosophies incomplete. He joined 5 ascetics and practiced extreme austerities, starving his body until his ribs protruded like the rafters of a ruined house. He ate a single grain of rice per day, and his body withered to near death. Yet enlightenment did not come through self-torture. Near the banks of the river Naranjana, a village girl named Sujata offered Siddhartha a bowl of rice milk. He accepted it, breaking his fast, and his 5 companions abandoned him in disgust, calling him a failure. But Siddhartha had discovered the middle way, the path between extreme luxury and extreme deprivation. This was his first great insight. Siddhartha walked to a great fig tree near the town of Bodh Gaya and sat beneath it on a cushion of grass. He made a solemn vow: he would not rise from that spot until he had found the truth. As he entered deep meditation, the demon Mara attacked with an army of terrifying forces. Mara sent storms and fire, armies of monsters, and finally his own beautiful daughters to tempt Siddhartha. But the prince sat unmoved like a mountain. Mara challenged Siddhartha's right to sit on that sacred ground. Who would bear witness to his worthiness? Siddhartha reached down and touched the earth with his right hand, calling the earth itself as his witness. The ground trembled, and Mara and his armies were scattered like dust in the wind. This gesture, the earth-touching mudra, became one of the most sacred symbols in all of Buddhist art. Through the 3 watches of the night, Siddhartha's mind pierced the deepest mysteries. In the first watch, he saw all his previous lives stretching back through countless ages. In the second, he understood the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth that binds all living beings. In the third watch, as the morning star appeared in the sky, he understood the 4 noble truths: that suffering exists, that it arises from craving, that it can end, and that the 8-fold path leads to its cessation. At that moment, Siddhartha Gautama became the Buddha, the awakened one. For 7 weeks the Buddha remained near the Bodhi tree, absorbed in the bliss of liberation. He hesitated to teach, believing the truth was too subtle for the world to understand. But the god Brahma appeared and pleaded with him, saying that there were beings with only a little dust in their eyes who would perish without hearing the truth. Moved by compassion, the Buddha walked to the deer park at Sarnath, where his 5 former companions were still practicing their austerities. When they saw him approaching, they planned to ignore him. But as he drew near, his radiance was so extraordinary that they rose involuntarily and bowed. There, in that quiet grove, the Buddha delivered his first sermon, setting the wheel of Dharma in motion. He taught the middle way, the Four Noble Truths, and the Noble Eightfold Path. All 5 ascetics became his first disciples. For the next 45 years, the Buddha walked across India teaching kings and beggars, warriors and outcasts, men and women alike. He founded the Sangha, one of the oldest monastic communities in the world. His teachings spread not through conquest or force, but through the simple power of truth spoken with infinite compassion. At the age of 80, surrounded by his followers in a grove of sal trees at Kushinagar, the Buddha spoke his final words. All conditioned things are impermanent. Work out your salvation with diligence. Then he closed his eyes and passed into parinirvana, the final liberation beyond all suffering.